back with another YouTube video, innit? So I had a question on Instagram and I found it to be very important that I answer it, saying as I have lived this experience. And the brother says, is it okay to get married to guard my chastity if I don't have a lot of money since I'm young? I live in the West, and over here women just throw themselves at men. It's very hard to stay away from zina, especially as a teenager. Well, I mean, if you do happen to be experiencing that experience of women throwing themselves at you, count your blessings, because most men don't experience that. But welcome to the club, my friend. Obviously, we want to protect ourselves from zina. And I just happen to be that guy who got married young. I got married at the age of 16. How did I get married? I met a girl at school, in college more specifically. She was in my class. She liked me. I liked her. The difference with this girl was that although I was not practicing, she was wearing hijab and abaya, and I said to myself, man, I can't mess around with this girl. I've got to take her seriously. So I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to go to my dad and tell her. So I go to my dad and say, Baba, first thing in Eid morning, Baba, I met this girl at school. I really like her. I want to marry her, and her dad wants to meet you in the masjid today. And he just looks at me like half asleep and he grunts. Oh, okay. 6 weeks later, we end up getting married. At the age of 16, obviously, with no money, no house, no car. Needless to say, wasn't even old enough to drive, bruv. Didn't have a house, didn't have a room. My mum moved out of her room to house us. Is this a unique circumstance and situation? Yes, but the bottom line is this. And I said to my dad, and he knew, without me even telling him, I said to him, after he married me, if you had not married me, we would have ended up committing zina eventually. If not with her, then with someone else. So shout out to my dad, Jazakallahu khair. And I will say to you, young man, the following. It's the advice of the Prophet. If you are able to get married, if you are in that position, that situation whereby your parents are on board and they're happy to facilitate, maybe not 16 because it's illegal in the UK now, so you want to keep it within the boundaries of the law, 18 perhaps, and your parents are willing to support you whilst you get on your feet before you grow your wings and fly the nest, then go for it. If you can't, then fast. This is the advice of the Prophet ﷺ. However, if you do fear that you are on the brink of committing zina, and on top of that you have a sister that is lined up there ready to marry, she wants to marry you, you want to marry her, then marry her, and don't worry about how you're going to figure it out. Now this is a test of your faith. This is a test of your tawakkul on Allah, in Allah. This is a test of how much do you really rely on Him. The answers are not clear. The path is unclear. How you're going to figure it out, getting married at this young age, is unclear. But what is clear is that if I don't marry her, we're going to commit haram. Now marriage is wajib upon you. Now you don't have a choice but to get married. And trust and believe, wallahi, if you get married for the sake of Allah, to protect your private parts from haram, He's going to open up doors from means with which you could never imagine. وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. And whoever fears Allah, Allah will make a way out for him from every difficulty. وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبْ. And He will provide him with sustenance from means with which he could never have even thought of. وَمَن يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. And whoever relies upon Allah, Allah is sufficient for him. If you do this, I promise you Allah is going to figure it out for you. I got married at 16. My wife had our first son when I was 17. Second at 18, third at 19. I finished college. I went to university. I left university, which at that time was £3,500 a year, with, do you know how much debt? Zero. I paid my own tuition fees every single year from the grants that I got. Grants is free money. There's no such thing as free money, but a grant is basically money that you don't have to pay back by virtue of the children that we had. Because we had children, I was entitled to more money than the regular people, the regular guys who didn't have families and children and whatnot. This is the rizq that the children brought. When Allah said, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَوْلَادُكُم مِّنْ خَشْيَةِ إِمْلَاقٍ. Don't kill your children for fear of poverty. نَحْنُ نَرْزُقُكُمْ وَإِيَّاهُمْ. We will provide for you and for them. This is how Allah provided for me and for them, such that I had a surplus of cash to be able to pay for my own £3,500 a year tuition fees. All of the students I went to school with, my classmates, I don't know a single one of them who didn't leave with at least £12,000 debt. You can triple that now because tuition fees are £9,500 a year in the UK. What's my point? Is that when you do something for the sake of Allah, He's gonna make a way out for you. So to the young man, if you have a girl lined up, she wants to marry you, you want to marry her, but you don't know how you're going to figure it out, I tell you, don't worry about figuring it out. That's not your problem. Your problem is not to figure it out. Your problem is to fear Allah to the best of your ability. And that is for Allah to figure out how He's going to make your situation smooth. Put your trust in Him and your tawakkul in Him. And if you want to watch the full video of me getting married at the age of 16, and whether you should as well for that matter, then click this button right here. Ma'as salama.